County finances. Speaking of where things have been and where they're going, let's start first with the revenue side. You've faced some challenges with casino revenue and some others. What does the bottom line look like right now?
Well, it still continues to be a challenge. We ended up with $100.2 million in our general fund revenues last year, and it's the first time since 2007 that we've seen an overall increase in those general fund revenues. It's up about 3.2%. Sales tax is up for the fourth year in a row of a little bit more than 4%. Our conveyance and transfer taxes from property are up, and so those are the positive things about the revenue side. We met our projections with the casino revenue, which was $3 million, but that's far below the $7.5 million that the state originally thought we were going to get from the casino revenue. And we have concerns that that number will probably go down with the opening of the racinos this year, none of the local governments receive any portion of the racino money.
When you were looking at the casino money to begin with, did you work it into the overall budget, or were you conservative?
Well, we were conservative because we looked at what the projections were that came out of the state, and Brian Nelson, our finance director, got with me and we sat down, we went through it and decided we were going to be a lot more conservative than what the state was, because the last thing we wanted to do was to plug in a number that was going to be much higher and we were never going to make the revenue. So I think that was, to be conservative on that number was prudent. So those on the casino revenue, we're going to continue to watch and see how that really comes out. It has not anywhere replaced the money that we've lost from the local government fund. In 2001, the county received $15.3 million in local government funds and in the tangible personal property tax. Last year, we received $5.5 million in local government funds. So that number has been cut back dramatically. That still leaves a hole that we are trying to get out of. One of the other major revenue sources for the county is interest income, and I think everybody in this room, if you have investments out there, know that we're not getting the interest rates we'd like to see. It helps the home market and things, but that continues to lag. So we made it through last year in pretty good shape. We only needed to use $300,000 of reserves, which was better than where we were going to be. But one of the big items there is that spending, all of the different agencies in the county came in $1.7 million under what was allotted for spending last year. So I want to thank all of the office holders here for all of the hard work they do to make sure that we came in under budget on that.
Do you suffer at all for your success? There was a lot of talk when the local government fund was cut that the sky was absolutely going to fall, and it didn't.
Well, I don't know that it didn't fall. I mean, it did make us do, I mean, the recession and the recession plus the cut in the local government funds were two hits at one time. I mean, we saw real property value lose 8%. On a regular basis, when we're looking at a 6-year cycle for the reappraisals, historically, real property went up 8% in value. And we lost 8% in value. So if you look at it that way, it was a 16% swing, and we had the local government fund cut in half at the same time. So the hole got deeper when you start looking at what we had to come back out of. We've come a long way, but the real reason why we've been able to do it is we're now down over 700 employees from where we were back when the recession started in 2007 and 2008.
Wow. One of the places where the money problems seem to be surfacing is the sheriff's office, the jail. We've read an awful lot and heard an awful lot about problems there. One solution that's been floated is perhaps a sales tax increase. Where do you stand on that?
Well, we are still going through an analysis, and we're working with Sheriff Berry and his staff and my staff, looking at what the problems that are there. You know, we want to make sure that we have a safe jail. We want to make sure that the department operates efficiently. And so we are still moving through those discussions, taking a look at all the alternatives that are out there. And I would not rule out the idea of putting on a sales tax increase if we go through the process and identify what all of the needs are. I mean, the three biggest needs that the county currently has are going to be capital needs for capital expenditures that we don't have, continuing employee needs for A lot of our employees have not seen any kind of pay increases for quite some time. And then the whole issue in there in terms of staffing levels over at the jail. So those are the needs, but a 0.25% sales tax will generate somewhere between $19 and $20 million. And so we will need to make sure that when we go out and ask the voters of Summit County to do that, that we have a compelling message and where that money is going to go to. And so that's one of the things that we continue to talk about, is to make sure that we are able to identify what those needs will be and how we will spend that money. One thing, again, that people I don't think always understand is we have the lowest sales tax rate in the state of Ohio. Only Stark and Summit operate on 0.5%. When you look at the other major urban counties, Cuyahoga, Lucas, and Franklin all have 1.25%, and Montgomery and Hamilton have 1%. So those counties that have 1% have 100% more sales tax than what we do, and the other ones have 150% more sales tax. So I think when you look at what we do with what we have, we are succeeding far better, I think, in some of those other counties with far less tax money.
Okay. What are some of the other priorities for the money you do have?
Well, I think the priorities out there always come around issues about how are we going to do things to help foster job growth here in the county. I think it's the #1 priority. I think it's what, when I talk to the different local mayors, when I talk to the township trustees, everyone is interested in trying to promote good job growth here. So programs, and that can go to education. I believe our first things first, our early childhood, we start there. Is an important priority because, again, the more we can work with people to get the job growth, that's going to continue to be, I think that is the #1 priority. If you get somebody a job, they're more likely to be out of our welfare system, and they're more likely to be out of our criminal justice system, and they're going to have a happier and better life as a result of that.
You must have looked at my notes.
And that is the other thing. So everybody knows, I didn't know any of the questions before we started this either. We haven't rehearsed this, so.
So you named one. I actually wrote down here 3 priorities, 3 things the county can do to better the economic picture, especially the jobless numbers. So you gave me one. Give me 2 more.
I think we are continuing to work with the barriers. Summit Workforce Solutions is the board that is in place that has been looking about workforce development. We are in the process now of revamping that board and revamping the strategy that's out there. And so I've been working with Christine Mayer at GAR, Danae Seja over at United Way, Chris Thompson for the Fund for the Economic Future. And we're pulling together a group to start looking about how we can foster and focus more on job growth. Part of those issues are, though, is how do we look at some of the barriers to employment that are out there? Because we have big issues with people who have felony records and criminal records. So that becomes a big issue out there. I mean, there's a statistic that's out there that I've been told that 1 in 6 people in Ohio have a criminal record. That's huge to get over to help find people to get jobs, because a lot of employers aren't necessarily out there waiting to hire the people who might have a felony record. So there is a new process in place, a certificate of qualification for employment. It's called a CQE. We're trying to get information out to the public about that, how people can sign up and get those things.
And this would be for somebody who has a criminal record?
That's correct.
To get it expunged, or?
Well, this is different than an expungement. What it does is it does 2 things. One, it gives an employer immunity from a negligent hiring action if an individual has that certificate. And the other is if they are applying for a state license, like through a barber college, a beautician, any of those kind of things, it can help expedite them getting back a license so that they can earn an income.
And then the county has also joined the Ban the Box movement. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, the Ban the Box movement is where on your applications you have removed, the question is have you been convicted of a crime or are you a convicted felon? We have taken that off of our employment application, so we are letting people apply, and so you're not automatically being excluded just because that box is on an employment application. The City of Akron recently passed an ordinance to amend their civil service requirements to also take the box off of the employment applications in Akron. And again, it's one of the things that we're trying to look at out there to be more fair to people. Again, that still doesn't mean in an interview process that you may ask people about what happens, but you're going to get a face-to-face without just an outright denial. So I think that's one of the things that's important that we need to look at, because there are a lot of people in that category, and we need to get those people working.
Okay, so education, young children initiative for people who have a criminal justice barrier to finding a job. Number 3, what's the?
Number 3, there's a number of other programs that are going on right now. You have the Connecting the Dots program that we're working with the Summit County Children's Services Board. And part of what that program is we're looking at people who are in the foster care system. You think about a child who's in the foster care system and what happens when they turn 18. We as a society right now expect that person to go out, find a job, and do everything. And I think about when I was 18, and I look around the room and see some people in here who I knew when they were 18, probably that wouldn't have worked out real well if we were just thrown out onto the street and said, go figure out what you're going to do. So this program, we start identifying people when they're 15 years old, and then when they're 16, they are starting to work in a program to get workforce skills to help them prepare to go on to college or to get additional training. Currently, there are 64 young people that are participating in the Connecting the Dots program. And again, it's been recognized as an innovative program that I don't know that anybody's doing anywhere else in the state of Ohio. Along with the young people, the other thing is we started an internship program through the Summit County Executive's Office 2 years ago. Last year, working in large part with the University of Akron and Dr. Proenza and all of his staff, we brought in over 35 interns into the county so that they would be able to get work experiences there. The whole idea is trying to get young people, hook them up with different job opportunities, try and give them skills, hopefully have them get that experience that will keep them here in this county. 22 of those people ended up with getting college credit, 10 were paid interns, and this year it's even going to expand more than that. So.
And yet you're still, like every other county in the state, the number last month for unemployment for jobless was 7.1%, up from December. Do we blame it all on the weather? Is there some other challenge?
Is everybody ready for spring? I mean, I would think that this winter's been particularly brutal. And, part of it is cyclical, so we will see how it all goes. We're not sure, I think, on some of the numbers that are out there. The one number that is out there, though, is as those unemployment numbers have gone up and down, we currently have 11,000 less people working today in Summit County than we did in 2008. So that's a number that's out there when you start looking about what our employment levels are that's there. So the unemployment number can go up and down, all depending on who's looking for work, who's still on the unemployment rolls. But we're also looking at the other side of the equation, which is what are the number of people that are actually working here.
Okay. Did you hear anything in the governor's biennial budget review, blah, 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 I forget the initialdom, that you think will help Summit County out?
Long pause. It's difficult. I'll be curious to see how that goes and gets through. I'm not sure that there's anything that I heard directly in that budget. Part of what they want to do in terms of reevaluating the system that we deal with people who are in poverty, though there could be some issues that he has raised that make sense, because I don't know how many people in this room have gone through the Bridges Out of Poverty program, but it's, again, another innovative project that we have going here in Summit County. United Way, GAR, really are out working on this project about how we look at people who are in poverty and how we have perceptions about people who are in poverty. I did a 7-hour training that I went through a couple of weeks ago on it, and we're training more and more people. Right now, everyone, almost the entire staff at the Department of Job and Family Services has been through the Bridges Out of Poverty training. And it talks more about how you look at people as individuals and what individual needs are. And that was one of the things I found fascinating what the governor brought up. So that's going to take some interesting drilling down to see how that could work. But that, again, is one of the things that if we had some more flexibility in some of those programs, I think it would make a lot of sense. I've talked to our congressional representatives. You know, we have a work for welfare requirement that's out there if you're on it. And so we operate a program up at the job center called the SCOPE program. So people come in, they have to do a mandatory job program. But right down the hall, they have Project Learn that's doing GED training. And you don't qualify for a work experience if you're getting your GED. And I have argued that point, and I've talked to every one of our representatives, the senators, about how I believe that, I mean, who doesn't believe that getting a GED isn't going to help somebody going to get a better work experience and move on? But those are the kind of things that I think sometimes that we put these programs in place and they all sound really well until you have to come out and be the one to administer how the program works. And you see the inflexibility, and you see that we're spending a lot of money on unfunded mandates, as I would call them here, and not getting probably the results that anybody wants to see out of some of these programs.
I'll write that down as one to come back with next year.
All right.
You mentioned bridges.
Yep.
Let's talk literal bridges and infrastructure. What are some of the big projects the county's undergoing?
We've got, and we've really, through our Department of Environmental Services, looked to see about how we're going to redo some economic development out there with that. Right now, down in the city of Greene, we're partnering with Mayor Norton and the city on the expansion of the sewers in connection with the Phase 3 of the industrial park development at the Akron-Canton Airport. And we are partnering with the city, with the, got my mind, Chris, the Port Authority. See, you guys keep doing that. You keep changing, the Development and Finance Authority. You switch everybody keeps switching their names out there on these different agencies. But again, it's the idea that we will be able to finish that park, and that will hopefully create an additional 1,000 jobs down at the Akron-Canton Airport. We're working up in Stowe on Campus Drive to extend sewers up there on a project that the Albrechts are doing. The county's going to be in for about $500,000 on that. Again, a job development using sewers. In Hudson, we are working on Seasons Green, which is the first green industrial park in the state of Ohio, and we're using some creative sewer financing there that will help development. In Twinsburg, we have met with Mayor Prokop, and we're going to close down the Aurora Shores treatment facility up there because the city of Twinsburg has a great deal of capacity with their sewers. So we're going to be able to take out of business a plant that's very expensive, replace it with an operation that will service all of the northeast quadrant of Summit County, and it'll be a more efficient. And then we have two tough problem areas right now in the county. One is down in the village of Clinton, and I don't know if anybody's been down to Clinton, but Clinton, because of failing septic systems, can't really do any business development whatsoever in the village of Clinton. And so we've been working with the officials down there over the last several years, and the whole issue there is we've now worked out a deal with the Canal Fulton to extend a sewer line up into Clinton, and hopefully bring back some business development. We've got a whole residential development down there around the Luna Lake area that people can't sell their homes. So it's really kind of critical when you go down there. It's a trailhead for the towpath. So it's important as we work through that to try and make sure that we're able to get the sewers extended down there. And then the final area that I'm sure people are going to talk more and more about is we have a major sewer problem in the village of Peninsula. And we now have failing septic systems in Peninsula.
In the middle of our park?
In the middle of the park. And if you think about where Peninsula is, kind of in a hole, and if you kind of think about that you have this wonderful Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and there's not a lot of quick ways to get sewer to the village of Peninsula, I think it's going to be a significant problem. And we've been working with the mayor up there about how we're going to move forward and address that issue, because most of us all believe that the Cuyahoga Valley National Park is a great asset to our community, something that we would not want to give up. And most of the people I talk to believe that the village of Peninsula is an integral piece of that whole park system, that when you think of the park, you think of Peninsula. And I wouldn't want to think of Peninsula as that community that has these abandoned buildings, no stores, because we can't get sewers down there.
That's the sanitary sewers. There also is a problem with flooding in some parts of the county, repeated
Correct.
flooding. Do you just tell people you feel their pain, or what can you do about it?
Well, part of it is where in which to get the revenue sources that are out of there. And we've had discussions with with the county engineer's office, with county council on where we are with some of the water problems that are there. We've got an opinion from our prosecutor's office that tells us that we have limited jurisdiction, and that we have jurisdiction over the townships, but not the cities or villages. So it creates some interesting problems with how you come up with the funds to address it. Recently, Mayor Judge in the city of Barberton has met with people from Norton and Copley and some of the townships to look at how to control the flooding on the Wolf Creek watershed. And they're looking about putting a conservancy district together, and that will then raise funds to address some of those issues. If you look at the way in which the laws are set up to regulate stormwater, they're set up by either counties or they're done by other municipalities. For some time I've argued, these all should be based on the watersheds, because in my opinion, imaginary political boundary lines really don't limit where stormwater runs and goes. So I'm not sure that we have all of the legal tools that we probably should look at in place to change some of that.
Okay. A huge quality of life issue. You announced last year an initiative to help fight infant mortality in Summit County. Give us an update on that.
It's an area that we as a community really need to continue to work on. You think of all the wonderful quality health institutions we have here in Summit County, and yet we have infant mortality rates that are far above the national average. And when you look in our African American community, when you see that we have like 14 infant mortality deaths per 1,000 births, the number is completely unacceptable, and it's something that we need to continue to work on. As a result of the discussions last year, we now have the Summit County Collaborative for Better Birth Outcomes that has come together, and it's 38 different agencies that are working on the issue of infant mortality and where we go with it. So the group came together, formed back in November. They are scheduled for their next meeting in April, and so they're now developing those type of strategies. Again, safe sleeping habits, tobacco cessation, trying to get mothers to understand the importance of getting prenatal care. So those are all the different strategies that these groups are working on. So I'm proud of all the people who are participating in that. I think that the fact that we've identified it as a problem, that we've gone out and been public about it, that we're trying to raise public awareness is the right way to go, to work with people to try and get them to the medical facilities that they need to try and curb behaviors and to try and get those numbers to come down.
Okay. Another biggie on life in Summit County is the arts and culture assessment that was done. First off, can you outline that a little bit and then tell us where it's going?
Sure. The arts and cultural community, we are lucky. We have a very vibrant arts and cultural community. We have a lot going on. But the Knight Foundation and GAR Foundation decided that they wanted to look in and do a community survey. And they recently went out, they did the community survey, and they identified where the gaps were, where the successes were that are out there. They identified that we have roughly 604 different organizations that are doing some kind of arts and cultural work here in the community, but they are very disjoined. They are very, they're kind of all over the place. And one of the things that the funders were looking at is they continually get the request for various funding, and so it comes down to, they want to try and fund more sustainable projects. We have the Akron Area Arts Alliance. which is a membership group, and the survey identified the good work that Quad A has done, and there's roughly 80 organizations that belong to that. So that's where it is, but that's far short of the 604 organizations. So they have identified that one of the big needs is to create what they call a backbone for the arts and culture community. And so I've been meeting with representatives from those organizations. And one of the things that we are looking at is we have the Summit County Arts and Cultural Board that is already in existence. And it could very well end up being to be the framework for that organization. So we've been sitting down, meeting with Christine, meeting with Howard Parr, Dave Lieberth, about how we may look to change how the board is composed, to see how we can make that fit since we already have an existing board. And so we're going to continue to work on those kind of issues because, arts and culture in this community are very important. I think, we have Tom Noby here today, and from the Gay Games for GG9. This summer, we're going to have a huge cultural event when the Gay Games 9 come to Summit County and Cuyahoga
And also
County.
Cuyahoga.
Also Cuyahoga County, that little county to the north. But we have a number of big events that are going to be held down here in Akron. And so it's going to be a pretty sizable event. And I know that Greg Mervis and Dirk Breiting here at the Convention Center have done a great job working to coordinate a lot of the different activities that will go on here this summer.
So are we talking about the possibility of tax support for the arts, speaking of Cuyahoga?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's been ongoing discussions for years about trying to get a sin tax put on to assist the arts here, similar to what they did in Cuyahoga County. It's been on now almost 4 years ago that we were approached about trying to get the state legislature to change the law to allow us to put on a sin tax and again, it's a tax on cigarettes that then gets collected and gets divided up within the arts community. The state law currently only allows Cuyahoga County because of the way the law was drafted with population. We tried to ask the state legislature to go in and make another exception for charter counties. That we didn't really get anywhere with that. But there is currently a group out of the Mahoning Valley that is continuing to work to try and expand that. I know they've had meetings with different legislators about trying to in fact get that law expanded to allow the sin tax to apply for arts and culture in more and more counties that are out there. So where that's going to go, I'm not sure. Again, we haven't had to talk about whether or not if we increase the sales tax, whether any money would be redirected towards that. Again, those are things that still need to be discussed.
Okay. Any ick factor in taking cigarette? On one hand, you're talking about cutting cigarette smoking, and
again, my personal belief is I don't believe that is a sustainable tax source that's out there. I have looked at the number of people who smoke less and less, and we seem to have added lots and lots of tax onto people who smoke cigarettes. But I think if you look at the Cuyahoga County numbers, they have steadily declined since that tax went into place. I look at the different health programs. I look at where we are at the county with our new health program that we have. We have a vitality program based on wellness and health, and you get extra points for not being, for being a non-smoker. I look at our hospitals. You don't see people standing around on the sidewalk smoking at any of our hospitals these days. So you have more and more employers that are out there that are banning smoking, not making it much more difficult. So if you're going to use that as a tax resource, I think over the long term, that's probably not wise tax planning.
all right. Folks, I am done. The executive has an announcement to make at this point, but we also would ask you to take this time to be jotting your own questions down, which are probably going to be far better than mine. So,
Thanks, Schultze. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. A lot of the things we do at the county could not be done without our cooperation and our collaboration with our county council. And they're here at this table, and I'd like all of the county council members to please rise for the work you do day in and day out for the county. And I'm not going to get heckled this year because Mayor Plisquelic is in Washington, D.C. And But we have some other really good mayors here that we work with day in and day out. We have Mayor Judge from the city of Barberton. We have Mayor Walters from the city of Cuyahoga Falls. We have Mayor Kern from the city of Hudson. We have Mayor Norton from the city of Greene. We have Mayor Bashara from Richfield Village, and we have Mayor Klein from the city of Talmadge. So I want to thank all of you mayors for coming out. I know. And I know we have a number of other elected officials and representatives here, so I want to thank all of you for taking time to come out. You know, last year we've talked about the idea of relocating our Department of Job and Family Services into a single building, moving out of downtown Akron, finding a facility that has adequate parking not only for the staff, but also for the clients who come in to Job and Family Services. And I am happy to announce that we have now finalized an agreement that we will be taking to our council for a new home for the Department of Job and Family Services, plus a number of other county organizations. We have reached the deal with Akron Phoenix Development, which is a company that Jim Loveman and Dave Marshall are involved with, and we will be relocating with the blessing of our council to the old Bridgestone and Firestone location, the Triangle building that will be down on South Main. There is the building now up on the screen. It is about 160,000 square foot building. This will be an approximate $20 million renovation to this facility. It will probably be the biggest undertaking that we will be taking in quite some time, but it will be able to move an operation right now that is located in 4 different operations into one building. We are also going to be moving our Department of Environmental Services and other smaller operations from up on State Street in Cuyahoga Falls into this facility. So the facility will hold roughly 400 employees. The facility will have shared common areas, shared meeting space. We will be able to coordinate services in a much better fashion than we have. And
Wait.
Go ahead.
Do I get a place to park?
You get a place to park. It'll be free down, yeah, free parking down there. Now, I've talked to Mayor Plisquellic and Mayor Walters about this. We are currently working on the downtown property with 2 different downtown developers to look at our property at the Truth Building up on High Street and to look at the property there, buildings what we call 2 and 3 that are next to the Austin Bioinnovation Institute. We've also been in touch with Dr. Douglas from the Austin Bioinnovation Institute, and the Austin Bioinnovation Institute is now poised to take over what the existing shed, what everybody looks at behind the building, and they plan to use that for additional training for their preparedness and their simulation center. And then they plan to take over the garage that is now behind the shed and make that as a part of their advanced prototypes that they now have to do off-site. So that will help the Austin Bioinnovation Institute continue to grow. We've talked with Mayor Walters about working with the city of Cuyahoga Falls. We're basically taking 52 people out of a 53,000 square foot building. We believe that there is a much better use up there, and we're committed to work with the city of Cuyahoga Falls to market that project, to market that building, to get a higher and better use for the city of Cuyahoga Falls. And it would put that property back on the tax rolls for the city and the Cuyahoga Falls schools when we're able to do that. So it's exciting. I want to thank Jason Dodson, my chief of staff, who has kind of led this effort. He's put hundreds of hours into this. Steve Zimmerman, his whole team at Job and Family Services, Brian Nelson, our finance people. A project like this is not easy to come together. We've worked on this a very long period of time. I think it's going to be great for the county. This is going to be, we're not buying this. It is a long-term lease arrangement that I believe that people will find very favorable. We have rental rates of, I think, around $9.40 a square foot. There's been a lot of thought and effort that has gone into it. So it's exciting. It's a major project. It's going to help redevelop a part of South Akron that's there. We've met with Richard Enty from Metro Bus about making sure that the bus lines will be able to handle it. We'll be working on doing some studies to go through that so that we'll make sure we have plenty of public transportation options. And if it all goes right, by the middle of 2015, we will be moving in.
And you'll be taking this to council
Monday.
Monday. Okay. All right. Again, we have some folks who are running around the room waving. So anybody who has, there's one back there. Okay, you've piqued some curiosity. Like to know, and please keep turning in your questions as we go along. Can you tell us more about the Connect the Dots program?
Well, again, it's a program that involves foster care children, and it is, again, we are coordinating with Job and Family Services and Children's Services Board, working with them. We are identifying children and trying to make sure that they get workforce experience when they reach the age of 16, so that by the time they are 18, they're going to be more prepared to go into the job market or prepared to go to college or to go on to other training that's out there. So, and if anybody needs specific information, give me a call or we'll make sure we get you connected.
Okay. Will there be a concrete plan in downtown Akron for an arena for use by city and university?
Well, Luis, you want to answer that? No. There's been a lot of discussion about a downtown arena. I think there was an article in the Beacon several months ago on it. Again, I think there's a lot of discussion. Whether that will come to be or not, I think is still up in the air. I think one of the things I've always said is you know, if the county can help and if the city and the university can agree, we will be happy to work in collaboration as we have on many projects that are out there. So.
And speaking of a collaboration, the University Park Alliance has had a rocky time of it.
Sure.
The county has one seat on the board, is that correct?
Well, we had one seat on the board.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the responsibility of the board for what has happened, and what's the potential to change it around?
Well, there's a couple things. One, we are in litigation, so there are a number of lawsuits. So that is going to prevent me from answering some of those questions that are out there. Two, you know, the University Park the concept of University Park, I believe, is still a very good idea for that area around the University of Akron. I think that the problems that are there, I believe that the partners that are there want to continue to make it work, and I believe they're going to continue to work together. I think they're going to continue to work with the Knight Foundation, and my hope is that we will figure out a way to make it, continue to make it a viable organization.
Okay. We'll just take these in straight order. What are your plans for eliminating the county engineer position and have that position appointed by the executive? I told you they'd be tougher than I am.
Well, I like that. But at current, I don't have any current plans to eliminate the county engineer. So I'm hoping Al's happy when he hears that. You know, the Charter Review Commission is currently meeting, and so again, out of those, I haven't seen exactly what the final recommendations will be. But I don't believe that is anything that I've heard that's coming up in this charter review cycle. I personally don't plan to try and bring forward any additional issue right now about the county engineer being appointed. We put it on the ballot back in 2009. The people of Summit County at that time chose to say they want to continue with the engineer. So that's where we're at.
Okay. Can you move the cheese on food trucks in Akron?
Can I move the cheese on food trucks?
Somebody's playing with words. I think they just want to know what the county can do to get food trucks in downtown Akron.
Well, we don't have, again, that's pretty much the jurisdiction of the city of Akron. And, you know, again.
Don't you know people?
Well, we do. Yeah. But I can call Don. I think I know what the answer is going to be on that. But that's, again, that's one of those issues that would be within the city. The county would not have anything to do with where the food trucks are in the city of Akron.
Okay. How easy is it for a person to start a business in Summit County? What does the county do to help?
Well, again, we have some resources that are there. One is we would make referrals to the Senior Corps of Retired Executives, and that's a nonprofit group, SCORE. They are currently located on the second floor in the county's office building on High Street next to our Economic and Community Planning Department. So that would be one thing that we would try and do, is hook someone that's up there. We currently have a revolving loan fund for businesses, and that revolving loan fund made its first loan recently to P3 Infrastructures, which is a polymer business that works on coatings for roads and bridges. And so we were able to make a loan to that company to help them with some startup of that business. So there are some resources that are available. Again, you still need to have a solid business plan if you're going into business. That's why we would refer you to SCORE to work with the executives that are there. And we would try and guide people to get to the right people to help them be successful.
With the declining purchasing power of the middle class, increasing costs of health, is gambling revenue a realistic source for counties and/or states? If not, is this investment warranted at all?
Well, the people from the state of Ohio voted in favor of it to make it out there, to create it. Do I think that it's going to be a long-term solution? No. I think we've already seen that the projections that we were supposed to get from gambling revenues have not come in at the numbers where they are supposed to be. I think about the lottery and all the times we always heard about how the lottery money was going to be the savior of the schools. I think most of us agree that didn't happen. So I think that's a tough issue that's out there. I mean, it brings in some money, but it's not going to bring anywhere in close to what I think people originally thought it was going to be. You know, I had an opportunity to talk with the county executive from Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, when they were looking at doing the charter form of government in Cuyahoga County. He indicated that, you know, they had gambling brought into Pittsburgh and that whole area, and they had all these major plans. And I asked him whether they met him, and he just started laughing. And he said they never came close to the projections down there. So,
Speaking of problems, what initiatives are being undertaken to address meth and heroin use in our population?
It's a tough issue. I mean, we work with our law enforcement authorities, and I mean, we work with the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board about trying to work with people who have those type of problems. I don't know that there is any major initiative right now going on. Again, I would be happy to sit down and take a look to see, as we move forward, what suggestions people have. It's a difficult issue. I believe the Attorney General recently from Ohio recently came out with a story about how it's just a problem that we're not going to be able to get over on some of this. So,
Summit County is consistently listed as top when it comes to talk about meth. Is that a question of enforcing more, or a question of the problem being bigger?
Well, I think it's more the enforcement, and I think that's it. I don't believe that we have more meth houses in Summit County than they do in Cuyahoga County. I mean, I believe that we have, again, we have very good collaboration with our law enforcement agencies here in Summit County. I mean, you know, we have the sheriff has his drug unit that works well with other local law enforcement agencies. And I think that that's really what we see a lot more of is that you see, again, that spirit of collaboration here with people working together and going out and identifying where these problem areas are in neighborhoods.
Also, homelessness appears to be on the rise. Are there strategies to address those concerns?
Well, we continue to work with our different agencies out there, Family Promise, Access, trying to figure out ways to help people. Valor Home recently opened for our homeless veterans down on Waterloo Road. So we are seeing more opportunities than that were there in the past, so that We've got some very good nonprofits that we work with through Job and Family Services to try and help people that are out there. Again, the county worked with the Stand Down for Veterans last year. If you've ever had an opportunity to go to a Stand Down, you should take it and go down and see it. It is an amazing operation what our veterans do for homeless veterans here in our county. Laura's chaired that for the last number of years. But it's a day where they get in surplus equipment. We've been able to find space for them in the county that's helped. Yeah, Laura's happy about that because it made a big difference in terms of organizing the event and what we were doing to help so many different veterans here in our community.
Can you talk a little bit about the land bank and how that's developed?
The land bank is again, one of those collaboratives that's a big success. And, Kristen Scalise and our office, her office and ours have worked very well together on the land bank. And I want to tell you that two people who've really made this land bank work have been Patrick Bravo and Amelia Sykes, who have really worked hard. We've got it set up. We were able to get the match money needed for the Moving Ohio Forward money. So the land bank was able to come up with over $7 million to put back out into the communities. I know Mayor Judge has been happy with that because we've been able to address a number of issues in Barberton and Akron and in 23 different communities where we've been able to use that money to demolish homes and start getting them back into some kind of an economic use. We will have spent the entire Moving Ohio Forward money by the time that it needs to be spent at the end of May. We will have taken down over 800 homes in Summit County with that money. And the land bank is now ready to start moving on to a more permanent structure. They've recently applied for and obtained a grant from the Ohio Housing Finance Authority for $2 million, which will then be used in neighborhoods to try and make neighborhoods who are in need of some stabilization. And so that $2 million will be used by the land bank moving forward to try and help stabilize some neighborhoods that are there. And then the land bank will continue to get its roughly $2 million per year from the delinquent tax and assessment account for ongoing funding. So I think that you're going to see that the land bank is going to be a vehicle that's going to be of great use to helping all of the communities in Summit County over the next couple of years. And again, one of the things here is we were able to make this work with the Moving Ohio Forward because we work closely with all the local communities. We didn't go in and try and tell the local communities where their problem areas were. We worked with the mayors, the township trustees, in a very collaborative fashion. They helped us identify the properties. We helped get them the money. If they didn't need the money, they gave it back, and we reallocated it all to make sure that we got it properly spent.
What are the plans for the new building that went up in the Summit Lake neighborhood?
Well, again, that is an AMHA project that's going in as an early childhood learning center, which is going to be pretty exciting about what's going to go on down there. They're going to have kindergarten in there, and I know Chris Uhas is here, and Chris should be commended because Chris has really been the spearhead working to make sure that that comes up in that neighborhood. And we are excited to get that up because we think it's going to be another big component of our early childhood First Things First initiative.
Will you use reserve funds to sustain county services, courts, and programs to avoid workforce reduction, i.e. laying people off?
Well, that's what we've done. I mean, we've used those reserves strategically to get to those points, and that's why we've done it. You know, we had an early buyout several years ago that had 200 employees leave. We've used the reserves, but we've maintained reserves to make sure that we have financial stability with the county. It has helped us with our bond ratings that are out there. We continue to maintain a AA bond rating with a stable outlook. So it's a balancing act as we do all of that. But we've had minimal layoffs over the period of time of this recession because we've done cutbacks. We've figured out how to do consolidations of services, how to figure out different collaborations that are out there, and we're going to continue to do that.
Right. This person wants specifics, a specific example of the county's role in economic development. I'm assuming they want the good news, not the darn wish we had.
No, I think in terms of economic development, the county's role in helping with the Austin Bioinnovation Institute, is one where we helped make sure that they were able to have a permanent home. We backed guaranteed financing. I mean, if you think about the Austin Bioinnovation Institute, it would have been a startup business. It didn't have any credit history. We were able to go out and work with the Development and Finance Authority and create a system that we were able to create a home for the Austin Bioinnovation Institute. We were able to work with both Bridgestone and Goodyear to make sure that their headquarters went in, that kept those jobs here. And those are pretty big economic development items to keep 3,000 jobs at Goodyear and 1,000 at Bridgestone.
Okay. I guess my only other question, unless somebody else
Oh,
has
we got
one.
some more coming here.
Are there plans to bring a hotel to downtown to replace Quaker Square? Any chance to work with the University of Akron on a hotel?
Marco, you want to take that one? Well, I can tell you, it is a priority to Mayor Plisqualik, and I think I say that out of turn for anybody who's here from the city. I think you've heard Mayor Plisqualik talk about that for some time. That is one of his top priorities for downtown Akron, is to have a hotel here. I know he is passionate about that, and I know he's going to continue to work towards getting that established down here. So that, I think it's going to come. I don't know that the county's going to have any major role unless we're bringing in people for conventions and having them stay there. How's that? So.
You talked about your early childhood initiatives. What is the county doing to address college access?
College access, I don't know that we're doing anything on the college access at this point. I know, again, Mayor Plisqualik has worked on an initiative out there to try and work with the University of Akron to try and work on different, Mayor Plisqualik would like to see a plan where everyone would have access in the city of Akron to college. So he has been working on different plans out there to try and make that a reality. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons he's not here. He is in Washington, D.C., meeting with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation today, talking about things that get college access. And we've talked, and part of it is, you know, I've taken the position as from the county perspective that the early childhood, getting the children ready and being able to get them into school has been a priority for the county. And I've told Don, I think it's good if he takes the priority to get those kids ready and then get them into college and have that, then the pipeline begins to work all the way along to do what's necessary to make people successful and have happy lives here in our county.
The only other question I've got is, how'd we do? I'm not pushing. How'd we do? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chelsea.
I do appreciate the executive being as open to the questions as he has been. Honestly, we did not share ahead of time.
So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you.